So I have a feeling what I'm about to share is going to be a very controversial car video. Uh, Maybe simply meaning that a lot of you won't like it. The majority of people watching this won't like it. I feel inspired to just share some of my insights and viewpoints regarding this manifesting stuff. Um, in a way that feels aligned to me right now. I was just vibing out in the car. Got this wonderful old T-shirt on, taking it easy, and a lot of insights were coming through my head. So I thought I would maybe try to articulate some of them. Um, the main thing I hope to convey to you that I don't think I'll be able to be honest, unless you're either going to get this or not get it, is that these ideas are too conceptual. Most of these manifesting concepts to effectively work in our life the way they are supposed to work according to most of the teachers who speak about them, even the teachers who speak about them well. The way they work is too conceptually framed, too dogmatically framed, too black and white uh, framed a lot of the time to work consistently in the way that we are told they are going to work. This is why so many of these ideas, these brilliant sounding ideas, seem simple, but actually are not simple to carry out. Most of the manifesting community, including the best teachers, let alone the shitty teachers, and the majority of it, which is crap, in my opinion. Uh, Even the best teachers are they're too conceptual and they're not um, open enough about how subjective a practice this is. Because of that, it lends itself to a certain dogmatism, a certain, I guess you could say, what, didacticism, which is basically untrue or unhelpful for most of us. This is why you have all these people talking about laws and all this other nonsense, like it's actually true in such a way, when it's really not. When it's all very murky or gray, as Marvin and I have been talking about recently. In short, the shit don't work like it's supposed to work. At least a lot of the time, consistently for us. And this ties right into a point that I sometimes make, and perhaps should be making more often or make more clear, which is that these ideas, as deep sounding as they may be, as like incredibly spiritual as they may be, whatever that word means, I would argue most of the time, if not always, they're not actually as deeply spiritual as they sound. They're not deeply spiritual in the sense that a lot of mystical sounding teachings actually are deeply spiritual. They're much more pragmatically minded teachings about practically improving your life. I did a video a couple of years ago, I think. I'll put it above, and I've spoken about this many times. But I think the video was just called Manifesting is Selfish. And I still think that's the case. Not in a bad way at all. It's just manifesting the whole concept of improving your life, making your life better, or making other people's lives better is inherently self centered, thinking about me and the other. It's focusing on something to change something. And so many of these ideas are, what's that word I like? Anthropocentric, like human based, like seemingly just assuming that, our humanity, our especially like our consciousness, is somehow the center of the universe. While, in my experience, this is not. Your consciousness evolving and all this other nonsensical metaphysical language we hear is not the way life actually is right now, this moment, right? So when you hear like, uh, you know, deep, I guess you could say, spiritual teachers, mystical teachers, and these can be modern teachers, like the people I talk about, like Byron Katie, Jan Fraser, Yuji Krishnamurti, Nisargadatta Maharaj. When you hear them talking about quote unquote reality, there's this whole element of non self there. No self. I am not that, which is missing from virtually all manifesting teachings I've ever seen. You could say that this kind of spirituality starts where the self ends. I think Kodo Sawaki, another one of these great, mystical type of deeply spiritual teachers, Zen monk from the last century. I think I'm paraphrasing him. He said, yeah, like the Buddha Dharma starts where you end. This means that whatever those guys, those deeply mystical teachers are talking about, has nothing to do with manifesting. This manifesting stuff is mainly, in my opinion, practical psychology. Basically, weird, latent psychic capabilities that we all have to some degree, and perhaps in varying ways, but we all have some of these underlying powers that we really cannot explain that well. And that great teachers, great manifesting teachers like Emile Coué, are open enough to just say, listen, we really don't understand why the imagination or whatever you want to call it works like this, but it just does. Most of these more religious sounding, spiritual sounding LOA teachers use all this, God, universe type of language and come up with all these conceptual explanations of why things are as they are. But those explanations at the end of the day to explain ultimate reality are all phooey, in my opinion. This is weird psychic shit. It's really, really cool. Very, very helpful on a practical level to help you improve your life, to help improve the lives of others. In no way am I saying we should not try to cultivate or understand these powers on a subjective level and objective level better. I'm all for it. But this is so nuanced and this shit gets so muddled and so conceptual so quickly